I saw your face in the moon. I promise I'll be with you as soon as I find a way up, yeah. 'Cause you're farther than it gets.
Hi guys. Okay. What am I saying? Hi guys, welcome back. Today's video is going to be a summer type crop top. I wanted to make it pretty versatile so that you could wear it with almost anything. Picked out this pastel green polka dot fabric. All I'm using today is the cotton fabric and the elastic. The first step is to cut out our main bodice piece. For my measurements, I want to use 44 inches across and 9.5 inches long from above my chest to about my belly button. Next, we want to cut out our elastic casing, which is going to help hide the elastic on the inside of the shirt. We're probably going to add about 2 inches extra, which means we're going to have to cut 2 different strips and sew them together to make them all one length. So I'm going to cut out my elastic casing at about 46 inches by 1.5 inch. And now we're going to add our extra inch or 2. So this will be added onto both ends to create a little bit of a longer casing. And now we have to cut out our 2 straps, which are going to be 1.5 by 18 inches wide. And now we have all of our pieces cut out, and now we can sew them all together. So our first step in this project is to sew our tube top part right sides together at about 1/2 inch seam allowance. Now that I have that edge sewn together right there, I'm actually just going to go back and add zigzag stitch on the inside just to lock it in place. Now I'm going to add a double hem on both sides of the fabric. And now all of the raw edges are hidden inside. So now I'm using chalk to help mark 2.5 inches from the bottom of the top all the way around, and this is going to help guide me when I start sewing on my elastic casing. And here I'm just sewing the 2 pieces of the elastic casing together to create one long strip. Now that I've ironed down my elastic casing, or my bias strip, I'm going to sew down only one edge of the casing where we marked on our top. And when I get to the point where they overlap, I'm going to tuck in and hide the raw edge. I'm only sewing down a few inches at a time, and I'm going to make sure that my fabric is lined up with that chalk line, because we don't want our shirt to be all crooked. And now I'm just trimming off the excess fabric and folding it under. So now I'm taking my first piece of elastic, which is going to sit under the bust, and I've measured it at about 23 inches across, and I'm just taking the ends and sewing them down together. Now that I've sewn down that first edge of the casing, I'm going to take the elastic and tuck it away underneath the strip and sew down along the other edge. And just as before, I'm only going to sew down a few inches at a time, and I'm going to stop and make sure that my elastic is tucked under safely and that I'm not sewing over the elastic itself. I'm only sewing over the casing edge. As I get closer to the end, I have to shift around and move the elastic inside the casing to keep the fabric from bunching up. And this is just going to make it a lot smoother and easier to sew over. And now I'm going to fold over the top edge of the fabric and repeat the same process with the elastic. This piece of elastic is going to sit on top of the bust, and I've measured it at 28 inches across, and I'm just sewing over the ends again to lock them in place. I'm going to try to sew along the original hemline, and make sure you're not sewing across the elastic. Now that I have all the elastic finished, I'm going to take my straps, fold them right sides together, and sew 1/2 inch away from the edge. Now that I have my straps sewn down and I've trimmed off the excess on the edge, I'm going to turn them inside out. You can also use a safety pin if you don't have a loop turner. And now we have our 2 straps. And now my last step is to sew on the straps on the inside of the shirt. And I'm sewing my straps on about 3 inches away from the edge.
Reason why I can feel those butterflies when I go to sleep at night. When I go to sleep at night. Lonely, you're the reason why I can feel those butterflies when I go to sleep at night. I finally know the reason why, yeah. I'm never really satisfied, yeah. waking up a paradise, yeah, without you by my side. Imagine I walk through your doorway. Imagine skipping all the foreplay.